The improving jobs numbers are no doubt welcome news for the White House, but for the more than 20 million Americans who are out of work or underemployed, is this a sign that economic recovery is finally for real? Joining us now from the White House is Gene Sperling. He is the director of the National Economic Council and assistant to the president for economic policy. Gene, thanks so much for joining the program.
Well, thanks for having us.
Gene, so some good numbers out there. 227,000 jobs created in February. Also, December and January numbers have been revised to show an increase of 61,000 additional jobs. Good news for the White House, but I guess, you know, with all good news, we were saying this earlier on the show, there is the asterisk of, you know, how long is this going to last? And I wonder, my first question is, what is the mood inside the West Wing today?
Well, listen, this is about what's good for the country, what's good news for the country. And I think the right way to look at this is that when you're coming back from the worst recession since the Great Depression, it's a long climb out, and people are still hurting, and you still got a long way to go. But what is clear is that we are making progress. This is absolute evidence we're moving in the right direction, and that there is good news and good progress, even with how much further we need to go. And to give a sense of why this is more than just a month or two, you're talking about 3.9 million private sector jobs over the last 22 months. You're talking about over 2 million jobs the last 12 months. So this is not just a blip. If you look at just January and February alone, as you mentioned, with the revision from last month, our economy has now created over 500,000 jobs in the first 2 months alone. I mean, think about the difference between that and what this president inherited in 2009 when our economy was losing 800,000 jobs a month.
Gene, I was reminded of that moment in time with the fabulous new Davis Guggenheim trailer about the president's early days. I'm sure you've seen it as well. When we talk about the road ahead and the sort of question marks hanging over the economy, one of the things everybody has been talking about, especially the Republican presidential candidates, are gas prices. And I thought this was a really interesting statistics that financial analysts say that for every penny of gas increases, consumers have $1.4 billion less to spend. So obviously there's the optics and the immediate pain at the pump, but there's also the long term and the bigger sort of economic repercussions. And I wonder, what is the president doing to control that situation as much as he can going into the summer and, of course, going into November?
Well, first of all, as you remember, this president made very clear he was not going home or allowing anybody to go on vacation in December until we extended the payroll tax cut. Now, that wasn't just a political stance, that was an economic stance, and it was exactly about ensuring that average working families had that extra amount in each paycheck so that they could withstand this type of issue of higher gas prices, and our economy could withstand it. And so what people should understand is that the payroll tax cut that this president fought for and got extended is putting an average $80 to $100 in the pockets of the typical family. That is more than far more than the increase families are facing at the gas pump. So while we understand how frustrating it is for people to have to pay higher prices at the pump, it's frustrating for everyone. It's also the case that this president acted in advance to provide a bit of cushion for families and our economy, and this passed and exists because of how hard and strong he fought to get that payroll tax extended for 2012.
Gene, as long as we're on the subject of fuel and gas, I will bring up something that I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about and probably don't want to talk about, but I got to ask you, Keystone. We know that 11 Democratic senators voted in support of it, or at least moving forward yesterday, and certainly the comments made by former President Bill Clinton not so long ago in support of it. What do you make of the Democratic support for this, both in Congress and among former presidents?
Well, first thing I want to point out is that this administration very clearly showed warmth to the idea of building the pipeline from Cushing to Port Arthur. That's where we have a real strong, urgent need, and we've got a real infrastructure, a lack of infrastructure that is affecting oil prices and the production of oil right now. So we have made very clear our support for the building of the Keystone pipeline from Cushing to the Gulf. And at this moment, there is not even a live application before us. So this is an important issue. We understand that there's a lot of controversy about it, but I think that the president has taken a serious position on it, supported things when they made economic sense, and all we've ever said on the pipeline is that it should not be subverted by politics so that we cannot do the type of normal health and safety scrutiny that you ask for in any situation like this.
Gina, I want to ask you one last question, and that is, we're looking ahead to 2012 and beyond, and I think the question that a lot of Americans have is, what is President Obama proposing to do as far as the economy beyond sort of supervise a slow and some would say anemic recovery? I mean, do you think that Americans can look forward to comprehensive tax reform? Do you think something like Simpson-Bowles is something that we could see passed or embraced in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016?
Well, listen, this is the president who not only fought for and succeeded in getting the payroll tax extended. This is the president who came out in September with a major American Jobs Act and has gone around this country fighting for common sense ideas for jobs that have bipartisan support among the people as a whole. And one thing you might have mentioned is that the one piece that wasn't good about today's job numbers were the construction jobs were down some. Construction jobs would be up significantly had the United States Congress, had the Republicans in Congress not blocked the president's proposals to do $50-60 billion more in infrastructure, $20-30 billion more in modernizing our schools. Those are proposals that this president's put forward that could be affecting jobs, strengthening our schools, strengthening our long-term productivity. So what we really need is a cooperative Congress that's willing to work in a bipartisan way with this president on things that can affect jobs. But you've seen this president's going to push and push. Today, he is out calling for new manufacturing innovation hubs that can help small, medium manufacturers be on the cutting edge, create jobs. He's calling for that today, as he's announced in Virginia. He's been out with a robust manufacturing agenda. He's called for corporate tax reform that would lower rates and do more to encourage jobs here. And of course, we as a country need to at last come together to have a fiscal discipline plan as well, a grand bargain, as the president said, that does not get in the way of this recovery and is and incorporates the values of shared sacrifice and balance, which means revenues from those who are most well off, as well as the type of reforms on entitlements that we all know our country needs in the long term to strengthen our investment climate.
Gene Sperling, that is a long list of things that may get done in the next 4 years. Thank you for your time, sir. We hope we can entice you back on the program sometime very soon.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
After the break.